Please, take your seats. Well, I hope you're fortified by lunch, and if this afternoon's proceedings are as good as those of this morning, you will have done outstandingly well. Order. Order. The Youth Parliament will consider the fourth motion of the day relating to an equal national minimum wage for all, as printed on the order paper. To move the motion, I call from the East Midlands, Mr. Martyn Bonham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a friend in my constituency who works in a shop stacking shelves on a Saturday. He gets paid £3.68 an hour. Yet there's also an over 21 who works in exactly the same shop, getting paid £6.19 an hour. Bear in mind, this is for exactly the same job. Is this fair? Is this equal? Is this right? It doesn't have to be this way. As young people, we have a choice. We can campaign for a change to this, or we can leave it in the shadows. We can make this fair. We can make this equal. We can make this right. The government says that we would prevent less skilled workers from entering the jobs market, that we would become less competitive as a nation, that our economy would suffer. But of course they would. Do you know how much the Prime Minister earns? I bet it's not minimum wage. The Business Secretary doesn't work for minimum wage. The Chancellor doesn't work for minimum wage. Do any of the opposition work for the minimum wage? Do they know what it's like to work every Saturday for £3.68 an hour? I bet their wages are quite a lot higher than that. Who are they to put a price on our equality? Who are they to tell people that because of the date of your birth, you cannot earn as much for doing the same job as another person, an older person? That's not fair. That's not equal. That is not right. I used to subscribe to the view that having an equal national minimum wage for all would result in hundreds more young people being unemployed. But do you know what? I was wrong. The European Commission found that increasing the minimum wage does not result in job losses. It decreases inequality in society. It decreases the number of people living in poverty, and it increases the well-being of the workers who earn it. That would be fair. That would be equal, and that would be right. There are 3.5 million young people living in poverty in this country. That's 33% of young people. That's nearly 100 of us here. These children did not cause the current problems, and they do not deserve to suffer for it. The government pledged to bring all 3.5 million of them out of poverty by 2020. Having an equal national minimum wage would help these children. It would give them that much more to support their families with. These are the ones who most deserve our help, and they do not deserve to suffer. As MYPs, we can change this. As MYPs, we must support young people. For the sake of those 3.5 million, we must make this fair, we must make this equal, and we must make this right. I urge you, my fellow MYPs, remind the world that we will be treated fairly, we will be treated equally, and we will be treated in a way that is right. Cast your vote for our campaign to be an equal national minimum wage for all.
Martyn, thank you for that speech of proposition. To oppose the motion, I call from Yorkshire and Humberside, Miss Amaka Uchegbu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd never have thought my live TV debut would be me trying to talk young people out of a pay rise, but let's see how this plays out. Looking back on our debates this morning, we seem to have agreed that a good campaign issue needs to be sound principally as well as sound practically. Therefore, voting yes to an equal minimum wage should only be our campaign issue if it ticks both of these boxes. Today I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. At the moment, we find that young people are being paid less than an adult doing the same job. That's unfair. But what we also see are many other instances where young people are again being treated unfairly in the workplace. We see youngsters with a Saturday job not being paid on time, but finding their much older, full-time colleague has. We see employers making it harder for us, saying, we're not going to give you a job without experience, when, of course, you can't get experience without a job in the first place. What we see, MYPs, as our first speaker rightly said, is age discrimination. But if we think carefully about it, the unequal minimum wage is so much a symptom of this wider problem. But passing us a couple extra quid does not go far enough to solve it. If we don't decisively challenge this problem of ageism, then we'll find it just keeps reappearing in different ways. It'll keep popping up like those Facebook statuses of really depressing lyrics that, quite frankly, pollute our newsfeed. So, if you are not in favour of age discrimination on principle, I suggest you don't vote for this campaign issue. Now I'm going to talk practically. The second problem with campaigning for an equal minimum wage is that it assumes jobs, regardless of how meaningless or dull, are in abundance for us young people. Well, since only 5 of us can be in one direction, then no, they just are not. Okay, I see that, 62,000 more young people have got a job in the last quarter. But these figures are a result of wages not rising with inflation. What's actually happening is employers are paying us less to avoid sacking us instead. If we make it even more unprofitable for companies to have us, then, Mr. Speaker, they just won't have us. They'll keep their profits and leave us with our youth unemployment. MYPs, I'd like an equal minimum wage, but as well as broken Britain, we are living in broke Britain. A vote for this will not get us £6.19 an hour. It will not get anyone a living wage of £7.20 an hour either. What we will get is £0, still no work experience, and a multitude of pressing youth issues that will have remained untouched as a result. So what have I told you today? I have told you to be practical, and I have told you to be principled. UK Youth Parliament's core message is to improve conditions for young people, not just financially, but in its entirety. So when we've seen that the main issue is in work culture, and that it couldn't be solved with money, even if we wanted to, we are left with one option. Vote no to an equal minimum wage.